Dr. Goldman? Okay. Miss Kathy? Hold on, let me.
And to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dr. Ingram. Moving on in our agenda, item 3.3, we do not have any items to report out of closed session. On section 4.1, is there a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting?
You have a motion?
Second.
Any comments or questions on that? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 4-0. Wendy, do we have any comments from the public on items on our agenda tonight?
We do not have any.
Okay, great. Thank you. Moving on to special presentations, item 6.1, we have a special presentation on the annual local indicators report by Miss Maggie Mayberry. So we will put her up, and now she's on, right?
I am on. A little bit delayed, but I am on. I am going to attempt to share my screen on WebEx so that we can go over the annual local indicators, but a good old house, Texas. Are we able to access it? Let's see. There we go. Very strange watching your screen.
Technology, gotta love it.
Yeah.
Do we have to love it?
Well, Maggie was certainly on time.
Oh, I was
She
on
earlier.
time. Sorry, I was on. I hit a button and it took me off. I apologize. But
So if you click share at the bottom, and then it should ask you what screen you want to share.
yeah, I'm there.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you.
You
Oh,
got it.
there we
Okay.
go. Okay, awesome. Can we see?
And then go full,
There it is.
say.
I'm gonna go here and my actual screen. There we
Yep.
go. You see it?
Yes.
You know,
Perfect.
Maggie, to improve your
Okay.
audio, you may want to turn off your camera.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Awesome.
All right, perfect. Thank you. All right, so this is our annual indicators presentation. It's one of those things that, you know, in our previous LCAP presentations, we do go over and get many of our data points from the actual state of California, from data points that we drive within our own, you know, students being assessed. But these are our local indicators and ones that we get to choose as a group how we are doing. And we actually self-assess ourselves in the 8 priorities of the that the state provides us to give input on. And so it's a little bit of like a self-check of how we're doing. As we remind, just a quick reminder on our 5 LCAP goals. I know we did this at our last meeting as well, but I'll give you a quick minute to read through these. And what our priority metrics are going to be for our local indicators is we're going to actually be measuring our instructional materials, our facilities that our students and our community work within, information that our teachers provide us, how we implement the state standards, the professional development that we do, engagement we have through our partners, our communications, our parents, our entire community, through different through different surveys that we provide both our community, our parents, and our teachers as well. And then access to a diverse set of coursework that we provide our students. So a quick reminder of our populations that we are talking about within the LCAP is our 2,524 students. Our English learners are, as you can see, down 2% from our previous years. Our students with disabilities up almost close to 5% this school year. And then our economically disadvantaged. So these are the three subgroups that we focus on a lot within our LCAP and again within our local indicators. And just a quick reminder of where we are at on our dashboard. So in our basic conditions, local indicator, we have 0% of our teachers on misassignment, which is fantastic. 0% of students without access to, or excuse me, 100% of our students have access, blank ahead, to our instructional materials, and schools not in good repair. We have actually 0 of our schools. So I apologize for that typo in the middle.
100 is correct.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Oh, no,
Our
you're
students
right.
have
It's
access
zero.
to it.
0% of students
0%
without.
students
Yeah.
without access. Sorry, I'm reading my screen and nervous from text.
You're like,
I
"What?"
apologize.
No, that's right.
That's
Without
right.
access.
It's correct.
That's right.
Good.
It's weird.
And then our implementation of our state standards. So this is done through our surveys to our teachers. So 83% of our staff agree that the district and school leaders support school and staff professional learning. And 86% of staff report that professional learning opportunities do have a positive impact on our students and their teaching, which is great. That's fantastic data to have as a district. And as you can see, we've met these as well through our instructional materials, practices, and learnings. And we break these up by our subject areas. And as you can see in ELA and ELD, we have a set of 3, 4 in mathematics. We the new adoption of our new elementary textbook, our history and social science at a 2. CTE is at a 1, and this actually was a little bit of guidance from LACO, being that we're not a high school district, and so we don't have the teachers with the correct credentials teaching in the actual CTE classes, but that is something that we're working on, as you've noticed through our within our LCAP. A PE of 4, our VAPA of 4, and then world languages at a 3. So we have met this standard as well on our local indicator. I love seeing those green check marks. And then as well in our family engagement, we have met the standard. As you can see, all the different groups that we have within our community that come together to provide us input through our, LCAP committee members, our educational partners committee, our school site counselors, our school site councils, our PTAs, WEF, our DLOC and ELOC committees, the counseling support that we provide, our variety of parent nights that we have, from back to school night to conferences to open house, the volunteering. We get an overwhelmingly positive response about how welcoming our campuses are to our community. And then the equity and inclusion data collection surveys, focus groups and input sessions that we have throughout the school year, as well as the numerous amounts of communications that we send out through our webpage, our social media pages. Like every time we go on, it looks fantastic. And then coffee talks that our principals are having at their school sites. So here is some real data for us. We had over 131 constant contact messages to stakeholders. That was in early May, 367 social media messages. We're in the process of a new communications plan and almost onboarding a new program. Our satisfaction with school and district communication to our parent and community members is at 82%. And satisfaction for opportunities for input is at 74%. And then 80% for participation opportunities. So as you can see, that's an overwhelmingly positive response, giving us that MET goal.
Clapping.
Okay, I know, that is a celebration. And I'm gonna hand the mic for a minute over to Dr. Ingram.
Thanks, Maggie. Good evening. So I'll talk a little bit about our school climate data. Some of this will look a little familiar from our last meeting. This comes from the same metrics, our California Healthy Kids Survey data, our community survey, and our attendance and discipline data. So we'll start with that first box, top box on the left, SEL support. Our elementary students, 72% of them responded positively to questions like resolving conflicts, acting responsibly, and fostering respect. And this is slightly down from last year, which was 76%. But all of our teachers reported that schools support students' social, emotional, and behavioral needs. And this is up from last year's 89%. So we see improvement there. In terms of school connectedness, 75% of our elementary students responded positively to questions like, do you feel close to people at school? Do you feel safe at school? Are you happy with this school? And this is slightly up from last year's 74%. With middle school, we see that 58% of students agreed with statements like, I feel like I'm a part of this school. Teachers at school treat students fairly. And this is slightly down from 61% from last year. 80% of teachers said that they agree that the school is supportive and an inviting place to work. And this is up from 76% from last year. Our parents agree that Wiseburn offers opportunities for family involvement. So that is really great to see. Moving on to the caring adults domain, 72% of elementary students said that teachers care about them, listen to them, and get to know them. This is up slightly from 71% last year. 60% of our middle school students said that teachers notice when they're absent and listen to them. And this is also up from last year's 58%. 95% of adults, of teachers, said that adults at school really care about every student. And this is slightly up from last year's 94%. And then 86% of parents agree that teachers care about students. So definitely some improvements, some spaces to grow, and kind of explore how we can improve in certain areas. Same with attendance, our ADA as of P2, so like the start of April was about 94.5%. That was slightly down from last year's 94.8%. Chronic absenteeism as the dashboard report, so this reflects last year's chronic absenteeism, is down to 10.3% from 16.1%. So we saw a big improvement there.
So just a couple points I want to share. You know, Dr. Goldman, you've asked too about, like, we talk about the scorecard and dashboard scorecard. Some of these metrics will then be, because I know last time you had indicated, because there's no goal line. So part of this, right. So part of this is we will take some of this data and start creating those goals and those trend lines. I want to also comment on ADA, although it's showing a 94.5 right now, we do suspect to see some increase to that based on some corrections that's happening. Were you going to say, am I taking your thunder?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Based on some stuff we're taking from some corrections we're making at the middle school and some of our, and one of our elementary schools at least, as well as we haven't claimed the LROP dollars yet that will also be part of the second recertification.
Is that 0.5% maybe?
I hope it's 0.5%. I hope it's 1. Yeah, I would. Yeah. The more the merrier for sure.
LRP is the learning recovery opportunity
Program. Yeah.
Yes, so like our independent study, when students miss school, they have up to 15 days where they can, we'll provide them with instructional material.
Just for everybody's benefit, the relevant of ADA is funding. You know, we get paid on the kids in school. So the 1% is, what is that? Close to $300,000.
Yeah.
That's material. Thank
That's a random
Significant.
question about the learning recovery thing. I know that people signed the thing and there was an opportunity to get particular instructional aid, but what if a child receives materials from their teacher? Does that count towards the program?
Right, so this year it didn't. There are, in order to meet the requirements of Ed Code, we have to make sure that we just have to make sure that we're doing certain things to be compliant. And we didn't have the capacity to check in with every teacher and their individual assignments for students to make sure that we would be compliant with meeting those requirements. But we are looking into ways where we can do that for next year, especially for the middle school. Like the middle school is where we saw the least amount of participation because they already have a strong system set up with their teachers, providing them with work when the students miss school days.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking about like, like when my own child is out, I'll email my child's teacher and be like, hey, can I come by and pick up whatever you guys are doing that day? So like just trying to understand how those programs interact with each other.
Right. And I mean, it's new, obviously it's new for teachers too. And so we've been working with teachers, especially at the elementary students. Well, we've had conversations with them. We want to work more with them to just say like, can we identify assignments that are essential, right? And you provide those essential assignments for students so that that leaves room for them to complete this other instructional material online.
And this is like independent study tends to be a highly auditable program. And tend to see penalties on those. So we just wanted to be very careful as we rolled it out mid-year, even less than mid-year, that making sure that at least some of the systems were in place. But definitely, that's a great question. That's something that we've talked about. I know there's been a bit of a I mean, obviously, what we don't want is like a teacher every day to have to provide homework every day for kids because that's just onerous. I mean, there's just no way that we can manage that and the teachers can manage that. So we want to have an opportunity for kids to make up work by having some skill building and some reinforcement. But we do know that there may be some opportunities where, maybe an assignment that a kid can do at home and that was assigned. Can we then credit that assignment for the work? And we just need to spend some time working through those things.
It's that latter part that I was thinking about because I know my own kids, depending on how sick they are, they definitely do the assignments before they come back. And so they're doing, so I would, I want the school to have credit for the
Right.
teacher took time to
Right.
give them
Yeah.
work and the students did the work. Absolutely.
Not having to go back and do other work. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Monique, in terms of the school connectedness and the caring adults, and I look at the percentages from elementary to middle school, there's a significant drop in those. Do we know what that's attributed to? Is it a developmental stage where the students are just a little bit more rebellious? Or?
Do you not remember? Do you not
I'd
remember
imagine
this?
everybody would experience it.
Those of us that are in the throes of this, Roger.
Just for the conversation, because it did look a little odd.
Yeah, I think that's a
Seems
strong
spot on.
possibility, that might be the case. I imagine it's different factors. Generally, we see the trend. So the California Healthy Kids Survey was for 3rd through 8th grade. And generally, we see the trend that our 3rd graders were the highest percentages. And then that trickles down by the time the students get to 8th grade. But for 3rd, 4th, and 5th, we see kind of 3rd grade, and then it drops in 4th grade, and it goes back up in 5th grade. And same with middle school, where like it's the highest in 6th grade, goes down in 7th grade, and then goes up like slightly in 8th grade. So we're seeing the same patterns. We can explore why. I think it's interesting that we see increases with caring adults because capturing kids' hearts, that's what it focuses on, right? Like helps teachers with practices to build relationships with students, but that's with students in their classroom. So then with school connectedness, where students are asked more broadly about not just their classroom experiences, but experiences across their campus. I think there's room for improvement there to think about ways of how we can expand those relationships that are in the classroom more broadly across the schools.
This is probably one last component, so going back to the dashboard.
I was going to try and beat you to the punch. I was going to try and beat you to the, yeah, I get it.
Peer comparative.
Yeah.
And the peer comparative would give us context.
Right.
So great question, Roger. If we saw every other school is dipping in middle school, that would give us context to say, okay, this is typical.
Right. And I think I was I really was gonna make a comment and say, I remember you sent me an email after the last meeting and you basically said, what you measure, obviously you're paying attention to, and it wasn't in those terms, not those exact words, but I mean, the idea is that part of our work on the scorecard or dashboard will be, you're looking at this and now you could bring that number, whether it's a trend that middle schools are scoring at 60% is less significant than us looking at the 60% and trying to get to 62.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And really looking at the numbers and trying to see ways that we can, you know, whether it be through implementing maker spaces or whatnot, you know, to the middle school, just to provide some of that connection. That's an area. But if you're not looking at the number, if you're only seeing this one time a year in this meeting, it's less significant.
Thanks. All right, Maggie, back to you.
All right, so we are giving ourselves a green check for the school connectedness meeting that requirement. And then the last one that we will be measuring tonight is our access to a broad course of study. And so at our elementary schools, with the specialists that we have in our math and reading interventions, computer science access, music and physical education helps give us that MET goal, as well as our secondary students access to electives that include visual and performing arts, career tech education, STEAM leadership, and world languages. So we have met that standard, and we are officially done with our local indicators. That is the presentation. So we have met all of them, and we will be submitting these along with, well, hopefully after our LCAP approval tonight, to the county for final approval, and then to the California Department of Ed.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you, Maggie, for the presentation. Truly
Of
appreciate
course.
it. And I know
Of course.
you're in Texas, so thank you.
I'm in Texas, of course. Happy to be
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, she has another presentation later too.
Well, then you can stay on.
Ha, 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 I will be
Thank you,
there.
Maggie.
So funny.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Oh.
Thank you, Monique. Appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move on to the next presentation, Blake. And item 6.2 on our agenda is special presentation on grant writing and development. And joining us today is Bridget Well.
I want to, if I can just, I'm really excited about, you know, this presentation, but more so excited about the process. And I just want to sort of couch it by, you know, Rebecca had challenged us, you know, over the last few years, even before you were a board member. You know, you had reached out and we had this conversation and really appreciate the partnership with the Ed Foundation and our ability to try and find ways to just bolster our grant writing and look for things and apply for them, and really excited to have Bridget share. That may be the wrong presentation, Jim. But but
Talk about EE.
Yeah.
we are-
Your wealth of knowledge.
But you know, one of the things that you know, we were really wanting to do is build the foundation of our grant writing, build our ability to be able to look at diverse grants that are out there and have sort of the foundation to do that. So a lot of the work that we've done early on in this process has been that. And so I don't want to steal your thunder, Bridget, but really, really happy with the work. Proud of the work that we've been doing, proud of the work she's been doing to help support this process.
Thank you. That was such a lovely introduction. I'm so glad to meet you all. I'm very happy to be here. This is my first time at the offices. So when you gave me a tour earlier, and that was really cool to just see where the magic happens. So as Blake said, this is going to be a presentation about the grant writing and development consulting that I've been doing for Wiseburn over the past 6 months. I forgot I have control over this. Okay, great. Okay, great. So that's the purpose of this presentation. I was hired in January for a 6-month term to support Wiseburn in the grant writing and development efforts. So we're just going to take a step back. You'll hear a little bit about me, just a revisit in the terms of the overview of my role and what that's involved. Fill you in on what we've been doing, including some wins that we've already gotten so far, which is pretty exciting. So yeah.
Like wins.
Yeah, we love wins. We love wins. So this is a bit about me. My name is Bridget Well. My consulting business is called Bridgewell Insights. I have 7 years experience as a professional grant writer. Most recently transitioned into consulting about a year ago. Prior to that, I was working with a national nonprofit organization that focused on educational equity. It's called Green Dot Public Schools. So I was on a grant writing team where we helped secure more than $47 million and growing, you know, as we continue to get more wins here, that I've supported to help schools get funding from foundations, governments, and individuals. So I have a degree in theater and a degree in communication research studies. And education's been a part of my background for a while. I taught at a theater academy. I've supported students applying to college in shaping the voice of their personal essays. So all of this fuses well, I think, in a grant writing space for me. Here we go. Oh, I don't know if that worked.
Sometimes it takes.
Okay. Okay.
Point it towards me. Point it this way. I can advance it.
I wonder.
Yeah, take it away.
Yeah. This is how we hand the mic over. It might be because,
There we go.
there we go. Awesome. Okay, so this is just a preview of the grant cycle, which also overlaps with what I'm doing at each stage of a grant. Oftentimes people think of grant writing just as that central column where it's the writing and editing and submitting of applications, but my role is a little more comprehensive than that. So within Wiseburn, I've also been involved in kind of the strategic planning phase where I've analyzed your LCAP, taken a look at and mapped that to different priority programs that we can get funding for. And I'll go into detail about some of this stuff a little later on, but this is just, again, a preview of the smattering of things that are involved in the development processes. Okay, great. So we set some goals for the 6-month contract. All of these we fulfilled and a couple of these we exceeded. And again, I'll go into a little more detail here, but some things that Wiseburn now has are a live database of research and qualified grant funders. That's government and foundation funders, where I can also give you a preview at another time, maybe of all the different columns of analysis that went through, but based on, we mapped out their funding calendars, their different focuses that can sometimes change year over year, their different styles of application, whether it's invite only or whether it's an open process. So then we also established actual grant processes from that slide before just onboarding everyone into this ecosystem, because sometimes it does take a bit of repetition to just get in the groove of what this involves and to do it smoothly. And then for each of the grants we've submitted so far, all of those priority programs now have written descriptions, budgets, goals, metrics, and supplementary materials attached, so we can recycle that hopefully for any future grants that we apply for that are about those same programs. And I'll mention which programs those are in a little bit too. So we set a goal to submit at least 4 to 6 grant applications during this term, even post onboarding. We actually ended up submitting 8. And we had a goal to at least win 1, even though it usually takes like 4 to 6 months typically to get a turnaround on that. We actually won 4 grants so far, and the rest are pending. And then lastly, the formal reflection on processes, just to make sure that this is accomplishing the goals that we want it to accomplish within the district, and then look ahead to any alterations we can make. And I have a slide for that later as well. Any questions so far? Okay. So this is the process I followed during the onboarding piece and kind of how we navigated through. I know I alluded to some of this already, just identifying the priority programs from Wiseburn strategic plan, went into foundation research, onboarded the Wiseburn teams into the multi-stage grant processes. Then we got into activating the grant drafting process for opportunities that the district identified and that I identified, just figuring out which ones we wanted to pursue. Then went ahead and submitted those grant applications as they came up and got some results back. And then the next steps will be, which we've started for a couple of these, but the next steps will be to just manage the implementation of the programs that we pledged to pursue with this new funding, make sure that the money is all being kept track of, which involves so many people in this room. So I'm just like, yeah, it's it's fun in grant writing to see how all of these ecosystems kind of fuse together, which is also why it sometimes takes some time to just, even for myself, to get onboarded, to learn all the intricacies of the organization and how people work together and who to tap for what. So, okay, next. So this is some data about the submissions and results. So as I mentioned, we've submitted 8 applications so far. We've won 4. There are also 4 more pending. These focused on arts, specifically musical theater programming. We submitted at least one application for WEF and one on behalf of the district. As I found in the comprehensive research process, some organizations have eligibility stipulations around whether they can support a 501c3 or a district. So sometimes that guides where we can seek funding. Then we also had some Project Lead the Way grants that we won for science and project-based learning. We have another grant pending with the California Department of Education around CTE for the middle school. So I remember that was one of the metrics that we're hoping to advance in the coming year. So it's cool that we may have that opportunity to build that program out. And then most recently, a huge federal grant application we submitted yesterday for school safety upgrades. So this is a little comparison. I know it's helpful sometimes to have context. Of course, we still have 4 pending. But so far, so good. We've won 100% of the grants that we've gotten feedback on so far.
Nothing less moving.
Well, you know, I'll see you later. Yeah.
That's remarkable.
Yeah,
Of course, it's gonna be 50, right?
Yeah.
But you know, this is also a good expectation to set, you know, so at any time we see, you know, anytime we win 1 of 10, it's still a good thing. But so far we've gotten, you know, all of them. So that's pretty cool.
Excellent.
Thanks. And then this is a breakdown of the grants that we've secured. We have 3 different grants. These are smaller ones because we started kind of slow, just the low-hanging fruit of things that we wanted to go after right away that were time sensitive. So we won 3 Project Lead the Way grants, one for each of the elementary schools. It supports training and participation fees for the Project Lead the Way programming. And then there will be another opportunity in the fall to get actual cash grants attached to that for advancement of those programs. And then we also recently won the Arts Advancement Grant from the LA County Department of Arts and Culture. And so that's going to be focused on musical theater programming next year, building out a section for the middle school in-school programming, and then partially supporting the after-school programming for the spring musical as well. And so that totaled just shy of $40,000 so far that we've won. And then these are the ones that are pending. So we have, as I mentioned, 1 grant pending with the California Department of Education around a media production pipeline for the middle school. That grant, if won, would earn us $75,000 for the coming school year. We also submitted an application to Digital Promise, their League of Innovative Schools. That one isn't technically a grant that's attached, but it would open us up to future funding if they allow us into their pool of members. Then we also have 1 pending. This is a WEF submission that I mentioned for the California Arts Council for musical theater expansions that would include elementary school students, build out workshops. And I have just a little shout out. I have a background in musical theater, so it was pretty fun to write about that. And then, as I mentioned, most recently, we submitted a $500,000 request to the U.S. Department of Justice for school safety upgrades, specifically kind of phase 2 of the safety initiative that has already taken place or that will take place this summer. So if won, this would support the build out of 100 new security cameras across the district, including in the sports complex, and then upgrading the door access controls for Del Air and Holly Glen. And then, so yeah, pending right now, we have around $600,000 of like actual funds that hopefully we can win. And then Digital Promise would be sort of a longer runway of potential support. Okay. So this is, again, we talked a little bit about the deliverables that occurred as part of the contract so far. There are also some sort of internal systems that were built out to hopefully make these processes functional and more seamless as time goes on and as more training is conducted. So I've been using a project planning spreadsheet. We have a grant tracker for awards won. There's a set grant handoff process when something is won that then everyone is looped into essentially a room with marching orders to then check in frequently and make sure that the spending is on track, that the program is on track, and if not, how we can support people in getting that back on track. created a data spreadsheet that I think mirrors some, I watched the presentation that you all received a couple of months ago and worked with Monique a little on building out some demographic, academic, social, emotional, and school culture data, because I use that a lot in the writing. It spans not only talking about the programs, but also the rationale behind the programs and what metrics we hope to advance through these targeted efforts. Then I mentioned the research document. It's essentially a qualified grants database with over 100 qualified names on there. And then also conducted some preliminary training for WEF and for the district on grant processes, which I'm hoping to reiterate and expand upon later on. So these are just some exciting pieces for me that were just sort of my little call outs. So for the MSFA application, that's Middle School Foundation Academies, that's the CTE application. That was a collaboration with Da Vinci, AME Institute. So a lot of these grants are actually pretty collaborative, not only within the district, but also seeking out additional partners. Where for the most recent safety grant, we have letters of support from the local police department, also from the school site councils that oversees and audit safety, from Dr. Ingram as a representative of the counseling teams. So again, it touches a lot of different stakeholders. And so that was one that early on was kind of exciting for me to learn even more about the Wiseburn ecosystem and its relationship with Da Vinci. Of course, built relationships, just navigated through learning everyone's working processes. We submitted a mix of government, foundation, and independent organizational grants. So they haven't all been in just one category so far. We submitted, again, county, state, and federal level government grants already. And then again, some independent organizations as well. The grants so far that we've won have actually benefited every school in the ecosystem. So like the three Project Lead the Way grants for the elementary schools, and the advancement grant benefiting the middle school. So everyone hopefully has gotten a piece of the pie or will so far. And then, as I mentioned, there are now clear budgets, goals, and language established for the programs that we named that we've submitted materials for so far. And then this is thinking ahead. I was offered the opportunity to extend the contract for another 6 months, because usually these processes are ongoing to really build momentum and help the district just build capacity to go after larger and larger awards and maybe even more frequently. So if that is approved, yes, it is. Just a quick shout out to that. These are the plans. Just, gotta do a quick plug. So these are plans for capacity building. I think it would be great to unify the district and WEF representatives and get them in the same room and in the strategic planning process, so that everyone feels empowered to make decisions and green light things that are within their purview to approve. Definitely an emphasis on grant management and implementation, because we're going to hopefully continue winning awards and need to be involved in that stewardship process. I would be excited to delve more into data dashboards and the program material standardization, as because we haven't hit every Wiseburn program, of course, yet, but usually it involves just a lot of legwork to build out those materials for each of the programs that are prioritized. Definitely refresh and expand the research to include additional funding names. It's always good to have that kind of on a consistent basis, just make sure that that stays up to date. And then, as I mentioned, looping WEF in on the strategic planning. And then there are a couple grants that we know are going to come online in the next few months. And by online, I mean applications will become available, so we can start preparing for, as I mentioned, the Project Lead the Way grants. That can be cash grants for the elementary schools, and then the similar application as we already won for the elementary schools, but one for the middle school as well. We also, I've been told that the district wants to pursue the CDE Exemplary Arts Education distinction, which is not cash affiliated, but still requires an extensive application process. And then, as I mentioned, leveraging the writing that we've already built for future opportunities, maybe for the Amundsen Foundation as an example, if they mostly focus on capital requests, but I'm hoping maybe I'll do a little research into that and see if maybe they'd be willing to support the safety upgrades, because as a one-time cost, that could be a good investment for them potentially. And that's it. And I am open to any questions you may have. But yeah, I'm proud of the work that we've done so far, and it's been really great to work with Wiseburn. I'm excited to get to know this community and the people within it. And it's been a really good experience so far. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Bridget. I know Rebecca has a couple comments.
Okay, great.
Yes, so Blake mentioned that this has been like a pet project of mine to try and get the district to bring someone like you in.
Great.
For several years now, so I'm thrilled that you're here and to hear all about the wonderful things that you've already been able to help us with, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. For any of the grants that are to foundation, I am a development professional myself.
Okay, cool.
in philanthropy here in Southern California, so if there's, any I was looking at the Amundsen one, and I know we know people there, and I know there's like a lot of closed grants. So if I can be helpful, just in reviewing the grants that are, opportunities that are on the list, especially on the foundation side, I'm happy to do that.
That would be great.
Not promising or conflicting myself on these things, but I do, but I'm also happy to just share any insights that I have into those foundations if there's anything that is there. So that was one thing I wanted to say. And then the second thing, I was curious about the Department of Justice grant. I know
Yeah.
the federal government has been pulling back a lot of grant programs and, pulling back funding and stuff. So what do you think the chances are on that program? Is it a program that has been impacted at all by?
Well, yeah, it's interesting you should say that. I don't know, given that it's a Department of Justice grant and that it requires some level of coordination, this particular grant had the opportunity for school districts to apply, as well as like correctional facilities and different things like that. So it wasn't limited to school districts. So given that, they have language in there to ensure that there is not a punitive focus, but given that it's the Department of Justice, I don't know if that particular one may be under fire. I think that particular one may be safe. However, I did notice that for the first time, I've never seen anything like this, which is a little bit disturbing, honestly. There was new language in this grant where people were required to check a box to say that they would collaborate or not inhibit, ICE essentially from working with them or just, I've never seen any sort of strange language like that before, and there were other just additions to the just all of the many grant materials that talked about rolling back different like demographic focuses. So I have seen that come into play in that one particularly. In terms of the funding being revoked and like the projections, I think that may depend on the programming. I think it remains to be seen. Maybe that might be harder hit in the arts areas, where luckily we have a lot of local support there. Like I mentioned, the county, I think, is pretty good about funding that. I know there recently on the WEF side, there was a different grant that they worked on that was a bit smaller that's pending, that they recently announced that there were some funds being rolled back from that programming in terms of the pool that's available. So that was, but with the Department of Justice grant, since you asked about it specifically, that was the one where I was a bit taken aback. And many people, even attending this Q&A and this webinar, people were all in the comments being like, can you please clarify what you mean by this? And they just sort of softballed it, being like, you have to talk to your legal department about what this means. But, so that was interesting that, the federal government may, kind of dangle funds like that with sort of, I think, an ideological agenda. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that definitely was something that I had never seen before in the years I've been doing this. But
Yeah, thank you. And then I know that we also have a consulting contract with another firm that does some of the state like matching funds and grants. So I'm just curious how those King Consulting, how those programs will work together.
okay.
And if there's an opportunity maybe for Bridget to talk to the folks at King to see if there's any overlap or support. I just want to make sure that, they're seeking funding on our behalf to match funds for construction projects and,
Okay.
all kinds of things, but just,
Yeah,
efficiencies.
totally. Yeah, I'd be happy to lend my efforts and vice versa. If they have info that would help streamline any grants we're pursuing, I would love to have it.
Thank you
okay.
so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Any other questions?
Just a quick,
Yeah.
first of all, kudos to you, Rebecca, for your vision, going back to your executive director days at WEC, that you've had this, and so good for you. And great find here with you, Bridget.
Thank you.
Thank you for your good work. Couple very quick questions.
Yeah.
For my own knowledge, because I'm not knowledgeable here, are any of these grants annual or renewable, and or is that something that we could be looking into such that it's leverageable year after year?
Yeah, that's a strategy we can definitely apply. I would say it's rarer. Well, it just depends on usually that would be a foundation award. Some of the federal grant that we just applied for would be a 3-year term to use up the $500,000. I would say it's a little bit rarer, and you would have to have maybe a stronger funding relationship to initiate renewals of, and again, usually that's, in my experience, that usually is kind of programmatic awards or even general operating awards based on, a demonstrated track record of stewarding funds well. And then, again, maintaining that strong relationship with a foundation. Some other foundations have restrictions around how many years you can be granted by them in a row. I believe that I could be misspeaking, but I think the Drown Foundation is like 3 years on, 1 year off kind of thing. So there are certain things like that, but that's definitely a strategy we could, I think that may be part of my many column spreadsheet, where we make notes about what type of funding procedures that particular foundation has. And we can consider that in terms of which ones, if all things else are equal, if it feels more strategic to go after one that is renewable, absolutely, that would be a good relationship to focus
I'm a
on.
big fan of anything we can do that leverages us and builds for the future.
Definitely,
Totally.
definitely, that makes sense. And I'll keep that in mind as I continue to explore additional names for the list. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so
Appreciate it.
much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, next we're going to go on to a special presentation, number 6.3 on our agenda for Wiseburn USD Measure EE by our bond program manager, NAZ, Noemi. Welcome to the podium for the 17th.
I knew you were gonna say.
She does look familiar.
Everybody take a seat.
Sure you don't want a break?
No, welcome, Noemi.
There we go. Okay.
It is update number 17 for anybody.
17.
Thank you.
Counting the time.
Be happy I'm not here every month doing updates.
No, I mean, though, I just want to,
Yes.
before you get started, I just want to
Absolutely.
say I had an opportunity, thank you, to you, and I think Greg's in the back, Miguel, had a chance to go around a few of the projects, pretty much all the projects today. Talk to some of the contractors, and I was sharing with the board, it's almost like a war zone at the middle school in aviation. Now, good thing, yeah, should probably not a good.
We'll go with
words.
construction.
We're gonna
That's
go
a wrong
construction
word.
zone, sorry.
Building zone.
I will check myself next time, but just
Fun
really,
zone.
really.
Fun zone.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, a lot of moving pieces, a lot of organizations that are sort of navigating various projects. And it was just really, like, the coordination involved is extensive, but it doesn't seem like it when you see how seamless and efficient people are working, and just a really, really sort of uplifting experience to see that. Because I remember, Michelle, Rebecca, when we were walking the streets for the bond campaign. Sorry.
Where we played.
We were literally knocking on doors.
Doors.
And, knocking on doors. Yeah, we were canvassing. And part of that process was the vision, was seeing some of the projects that need to be done, that needed to be done, looking at the master plan, speaking to the master plan, and seeing that stuff really start coming to fruition is pretty awesome and amazing. So, yeah.
Thank you, community.
Wanted to say that.
Absolutely. And Blake and I were just discussing this maybe last week or the week before that. It's all almost a blur at this point. We have a lot. We have a lot of construction happening. We're in the midst of a transformational summer, I would say. I mean, for being such a small district, we have a lot of major construction happening throughout. So tonight's focus will be more on a show and tell. We're going to show you a lot of progress pictures just to bring you up to speed. And as always, we're happy to conduct site tours as well if anyone is interested. But things move very quickly. So I'm going to start right away with Holly Glen Elementary School TK conversion project. That project started in January and we're 85% complete. We're rocking and rolling. We're very close to being done. Most of the spaces are essentially complete. We're ahead of schedule, if I would say. There's a couple items that we're tracking. As you can see, for example, in this picture, we have ceramic tile that's completely done. Flooring is done. The epoxy flooring is done. The only thing that was pending here was the installation of the fixtures. The sink and the mini toilet, but it's tiny. I wish they would have installed it because I love showing that picture. But as you can see, very clean, I don't know, just it's very nice. Before I go, as you know, we're tracking change orders. This is what I've been doing at all of our updates. Tonight, you'll be seeing change order number 4 for $52,000. This is to lower the TK cabinets. You'll see here, not these, but these to the right. The sink cabinets, it's standard height, it's ADA height. We're going to lower those. We're going to get a credit from the architect for this, but we're going to repurpose. We're not just going to be wasteful. We're going to take these and we're going to repurpose them and we're going to install an island at the teacher workrooms that you see here on the left. So there's a set of a pair of teacher workrooms in between the 4 classrooms, and they have uppers and lowers that are built in, but we're going to take these cabinets and create an island for them with a new countertop. We're just going to add a back panel, and that way nothing is wasted. The other thing that was missing from here, from the right picture over the sink cabinet, once we are done with lowering the cabinet, we're going to install a shelf. That way the teachers can use that for additional storage. I'm going to go back to this picture just to show you the rooms are essentially done. What's missing here on the 2 opposite walls, let's see if I can get, yes, right there and then right here. So both of these walls get a whiteboard, an 8-foot whiteboard, as well as a smart over short throw projector. So we're just waiting for the equipment to arrive and it'll be installed. But as you can see, all the cable is ready to go. They're just waiting for the actual equipment to arrive.
Short throw, ceiling mounted, floor mounted?
It's wall mounted. It's over the right, they call it short throw because it's basically like the camera. So if you can picture, it's a projector, it's a smart projector with an 8-foot whiteboard. The whiteboard's not a smart board, it's a standard whiteboard, but there's a device built into the projector that makes it smart that you can touch screen. And they'll receive 2 in each classroom. The cabinets to the left along the window, they're all TK height. You can't really see it from the picture, but as you can see, all the ceilings are closed, lighting is done, flooring, the luxury vinyl tile, everything's pretty much done in these spaces. The second portion of this project was the addition of the kindergarten doors. That project actually started on Monday of this week. I don't have a picture to show because the last time I was there, they were only, it was a laser basically to outline where they're going to cut out the openings. So hopefully by tomorrow or early next week, we'll start to see the openings take place. All the door frames have been delivered and everything's on site ready to go.
At the back, the second door.
Correct, in the kindergarten classrooms. That way they have access to the TK courtyard to be able to use the new playground as well. As you can see, this is a different view from the workroom into the classroom. As you can see, we have glass panels that way in case a teacher has to go in there, something's printed, she needs to go get something for supervision purposes. It lends itself. Moving on to the TK Playground project, we kicked off and broke ground on May 27th. I used this picture as a reference just to give you an idea. We try to maximize the space. As you know, it's a tight area between the kinder and the TK wing. So we had to create this almost H or number 4, depends how you look at it, a shape to maximize the space. but compared to what it used to be, it's, you know, before they had a tiny, tiny little playground. Here you can see when we took a picture of when the equipment was coming in the semi truck, the footings were being laid out for the playground. You can see the L shape start to take shape. Here's the playground being installed. Here's another picture from a different angle. This is the front angle. What you don't see here is the where it turns into the L. All of the surface, the floor surface will be rubber surface, and it'll have a nice clean edge. So as you can see, we have the pavers there. All of that will be cleaned up, and it'll be a nice smooth edge. And you'll also receive a shade structure over the playground, which will be installed after. Here's the other side of the panel that's going in. Now the panel that you see, or that missing space in that arch, where is it? Oh, gosh, right there. The panel came damaged. It's cracked. It's already in order. They're expediting. So as soon as it arrives, we'll attach it. But it doesn't prevent us from continuing with the project. So it shouldn't be a problem. There's always something with construction. Any questions on the Holly Glen TK project? Moving on to the SLC relocation project. As you know, it was delayed with receiving DSA approval. We were thrilled to finally break ground and start the project on June 18th. It took a while because obviously we had to enter into contracts, get insurance, get all that good stuff in order before we can get the project started. But as soon as we got the documents, we were ready to hit the ground running. Just as reference, as you can see, the larger portable, I'm going to show some pictures in just a second from progress. So I want to make sure that you understand the 60 by 40 right there, plus the two 2440s in the restroom. Look, my hand's not moving. It's just that. We need a new one. So this is the logistics site plan that was shared with the preschool staff, with the community, with parents, just so that they understand, as well as Da Vinci Connect site. The area outlined in red represents basically the entire construction zone, if you will, because we will be doing some sort of improvement all the way from ISIS, from that entrance. We have some path of travel sidewalk work along that area, all the way to the back. We've added a section, a double gate with a combo, as you can see, right in the middle next to the 60 by 40 up there, right there. To prevent vehicles from accessing the back. So the entire back area is strictly used now as of June 18th for construction. The only vehicles that are entering there are trucks and construction equipment at this time. Fortunately, Da Vinci Connect is not right in session for the summer. We do have preschool, but we have already communicated a plan with them. We have a good plan in place, and we're moving forward. So this is some of the construction progress since the 18th. On June 18th, they started to drop the temporary construction fencing. You can see the privacy screen being installed along that way. Once school does come back, or even the preschool students that are there, the parents cannot see the construction. Basically, it keeps it very private, and it's a mechanism for dust control as well. The picture to the right shows the area where we started saw cutting the asphalt for the 60 by 40 portable that will be placed on a permanent foundation. After all, it's a sore subject. And as of today, these are fresh. I just took them this morning and this afternoon. So that picture was from this morning. I was out there when the brown building right there is the restroom building. The blue 12 by 40 section is a section of the 24 by 40 classroom that's coming from the current SLC site to the Da Vinci Connect site. As you know, they break them up in halves and they transport them, except the restroom, because that's already a 12 by 40. So they brought the restroom first, then they started staging this afternoon, the 24 by 40s, and they'll start putting them together tomorrow, and they'll be done by tomorrow. So it's moving fairly quickly. Initially, they told us it would take 5 days to dismantle and transport. It took one day, well, 1.5 days. They were out there yesterday dismantling, and this morning, by this afternoon, by noon, all of the buildings were on
Tell
site.
that to your contractors, everybody.
And Blake was out there in the weeds talking to the contractors, measuring, no, just kidding. But you were out there. Okay, moving on to the next project, district-wide flooring and ceiling tile refresh project. It's in full swing. This one is, it's two very busy sites. We have a lot happening at both Aviation Elementary School and Wiseburn Middle School. We have fairly large flooring crews that are working on simultaneously at both sites. Here are some pictures. As you can see, we started on May 21st with the gymnasium at the middle school. We had some hiccups with the floor. We met with the manufacturer out there today to make the repairs, and they're going to make the repairs starting next week. And we should have striping done the following, and hopefully we'll be able to turn it over to the district in 2 weeks. But other than that, it's looking well. The flooring and ceiling tile refresh project that one's going really fast. We have already completed building 600 and 700 at the middle school. They're already halfway with building 800. Building 800 wasn't supposed to even start until Monday. And the move team kicked butt as well. They got in there, they moved stuff out, and then the flooring crew is just following them. Granted, there are some areas that need some work, but what we do, our team does, is we all take turns between Miguel, even Cherie is out there, myself, and Greg. Just because there's a lot happening, we're splitting our time and just stopping. Either one comes in early in the morning, the other one late in the afternoon, someone in the middle of the day. Exactly, and to catch anything. So if we find something, we try to identify it right away. I know Blake is out there often as well. The principals are keeping an eye on it. So we have all eyes out there, which is great, because as we identify any little imperfection, we address it. We haven't even conducted a punch walk, but we're trying to minimize adding items to the punch walk, because as it is, we have it.
As opposed to the end.
Exactly.
Excellent.
So this is demo, as you can see. The picture to the left, you can see how they're floating areas that are not even. So they come in, they remove everything, all the glue, all the residue from the previous flooring. If there's any areas that are not fully leveled, they come in and they do a concrete float. They let it dry before they start installing. So this is part of the floor prep that we do. They started demolishing the flooring in the NPR today, and they were done by this afternoon. So they move fairly quickly.
Are they just discovering any surprises when they're uncovering the flooring currently?
Nothing yet. Nothing yet. And I hope, I know, I don't need any more surprises.
They found them buried.
Pot of gold would be
No,
nice.
I wish. We could use that. That one, well, welcome.
I know.
If I disappear, now you know. I would never do that. Here you can see we have started demolishing the ceiling as well. The ceiling tiles are being replaced, but it also shows a great picture of the original condition, or of the prior condition of the flooring. And just so that you're gonna see the replacement obviously going in. This is a completed classroom. So as you can see, the carpet tiles are done. In this case, even the ceiling tiles are already in. The luxury vinyl tile is already complete. The rubber baseboard around the entire classroom and office, complete. And what you don't see in this picture, the other door, they have two doors. The other door receives a walk-off mat, and also complete. So these rooms, we talked to the flooring crews this afternoon, as well as the rooms are done. I need you to send a cleaning crew so that they're cleaning, because then the move back occurs. And after the furniture is in place, then the summer cleaning crew will follow them for a deep clean of everything. But I want to make sure that the flooring crew is respectful and cleans everything, windows, because there's debris from even removal of the ceiling tiles. There's a lot of debris in the window seals. So they'll take care of all of that. We showed them that this afternoon. Here's the same room, different angle, but just so that you can see everything's done. Just looks really nice. Imagine once we get the new furniture in these spaces. I mean, these rooms already look like a modernized room, in my opinion. And this is a picture of Aviation Elementary School. Similar case. A wing is completely done. Building D was done yesterday. Today they were just in there doing minor fixes that we brought to their attention and cleaning because the move crew, the move back crew is coming in tomorrow to move everything into the space. And now there's a different crew already working on the next building. So they're just moving fairly quickly. Again, ceiling tiles also complete in this case. Come on. Moving on to the next project, also at Aviation in Weisburn, we have the door access controls project. The picture there to the left represents the hardware that we're going to get. As you can see, it does have a lock core, but it also has obviously the more important piece above. It's for the key card, for either a key card or a fob. So that is all already going in. We have crews working right now only at Weisburn. They're going to move into Aviation shortly.
Can I just make,
Yes.
because there's the construction side of it, which is putting in all of the access control panel, these panels or
Hardware.
things. But then there's also the configuration of everything. I know I had a
Programming.
chance to talk to Jim. Jim's in the back. Hey, Jim. And so we're also simultaneously having to go through the process of, we have, I believe, like today, the cards came in, or they'll be the ID cards. It's gonna be an ID card / entry card. So now we have to figure out, there's a lot of parameters. So you have to set for every person, the parameters on which
Access
doors
control.
and
Right.
all of that. So it's quite a lift for that first round. So we needed to start that early and get that going now.
Yeah, we-
The last thing we want is the first day of school, people to go to the door
Right,
and say,
and without access.
we want
So-
entry the
You
first
just go
day.
home.
So step one-
Yeah, right. Right.
They heard you. First step is obviously install the hardware. Second step is to test everything and to program at the same time. And then we need to train. Training will be minimal, but the larger training piece is for the staff that will be generating cards on site. So for example, if they have a substitute for the day, or if they have a parent visitor for the week, or a PTA member, so they'll have to be able to print their own key cards and program them there on site. That way they're not having to come to the district at all times. So there's still a series of steps that have to take place, but the critical one is to start getting the hardware in. Okay, moving on to the sports complex, Weisburn Sports Complex. We are roughly 20% complete, which seems like very little considering that we started April 1st, but it's a large site. There's a lot happening. And they were limited by what they could do waiting for phase 2. So the project was broken up into 2 phases. Phase 1, working on the offsite improvements, the picture to the right, those are the new driveway approach that we have to do. We had to coordinate with the city of Hawthorne, as well as start working on the grading, over-X, and foundation work for the concessions building, which is the picture there to the left. So that is currently underway.
Aviation? That's on,
I'm sorry?
is that on Aviation, the sidewalk on the right-hand side?
This is on, yes, on Aviation.
Okay.
Yes. So if you can picture the SLC building directly behind it, right? So in the driveway, the original driveway approach was further south. So we had to push it as part of this project. We're still on, well, I should say we're tracking currently 14 days behind schedule because of all of the abatement work that we had to do with the transit pipe that we discovered early on in the project. Erickson Hall recently had a pool planning session. This is where they meet with all of their subs. They break down the entire schedule by task, basically by item to try to find ways of how they can overlap some of the work and recover. They are confident that we're going to be able to make up the 14 days. That's not a problem. The issue was if for some reason there was any delay in us being able to remove the portables and slow down the demolition of SLC, that would have been the holdup. But I told them that we would have everything out by the end of this week, and we did. Everything's out by today. So we're on track. So I'm confident that we're gonna make up those 14 days. No problem.
When is the existing SLC building scheduled to be demoed?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, all right.
It's the old district office.
Wow.
Say goodbye.
I'm over. Bring popcorn.
We did a last minute, we did a last time tour, a couple weeks ago.
I have some pictures. So early, first thing tomorrow,
What time do we have to be there?
But yeah.
7 a.m. 7 a.m. They as soon as they can start, I'm like, the minute they can start, they'll be ready to go.
Yeah, I know, I'm right
They've
there.
been waiting for me to.
I do want to say something on that note,
Uh-huh.
it's actually unbelievable in terms of the transformation that this district Wiseburn has gone through in terms of our building program. And to see or even hear that building is now about to be demoed, it's the oldest building in our district. So I also wanted to give a shout out to those people that were involved way back in the day for the establishment of the district and the construction of that office. Because what a gift we received for so many years that just established the Wiseburn Unified School District. It's a blessing and great appreciation for those that came before us. I just want to say thank you, even though they may no longer be with us.
1896.
1896. Maybe I still only hope there's some around, but no, but it's in all positive candor. Thank you to everybody that came before us. What a gift they left us. Thank you.
Well said.
So as you know, there's construction fencing and privacy screen throughout the entire perimeter of the campus, and it's hard to see what's happening. I mean, unless you're going into the Wiseburn Middle School parking lot, that's where you see the majority of the work. It's hard to see what's really happening behind the fence line, but there's quite a bit happening and a lot more about to start. I think the minute we demo that building, this whole area is going to start transforming fairly quickly.
I received a lot of phone calls. When are those poles going up? When are those poles going up?
Well, the first one is the poles, the basis for the Musco lights. As you know, those are very tall poles that are forthcoming. They're going to be installed very soon. The pictures to the right, some of you, if you've driven by this, I took this picture here on Monday. They were still working on the poles and starting to put the wiring for the netting. As of today, netting was already up. So it's moving. The picture in the middle is the underground electrical branch circuit running through the entire campus here. And picture to the left, you can see basically I'll focus on the one where the guy is working, but right above it is the footings for the concession building, that larger yellow area. That whole area, we're going to start pouring concrete for the footings tomorrow. So that's going to happen on Saturday. I'm thinking tomorrow, Saturday. It's scheduled for Saturday. It's been a long week. The guy here is working on the spread footing for the canopy. So if you can picture the concessions building, there's a canopy at the entrance and a canopy at the back. So as you walk through, it's divided into the warming kitchen and restrooms in one side and then the storage in the other. And the middle is just the area for the visitors to enter, covered by a canopy. So he's working on the footings for that. And here's the SLC building, which is part of phase 2. They saved off all utilities on Monday. On Tuesday, they started removing all the fencing around it to clear the way for the portables because they were going to come in and they were going to run. So Erickson Hall saved off the portables, the restroom, turned off all the utilities in this building, removed all fencing, right? Basically everything that's in the way of the transport. Then as of yesterday, they got there in the morning, they started dismantling, portables started coming this morning. And now this building is scheduled to be, as I mentioned, demolished tomorrow.
This wasn't 1896, but I think it was something like the 30s or 40s. Do you know when this was built?
1993.
Later.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I think Don Brand was, sorry, what one?
1993.
In this building?
Not brand new.
It was portables, just put together.
Yeah, that's what she was saying, portable. I'm like, but it's on a permanent foundation. So just like our 60 by 40. Another source of.
We gave that building a few facelifts too along the way. Oh, yes, there's several.
So if you want to go write your name on it, go write your name on it tonight. Take a picture and then we'll demolish it tomorrow.
Are we saving the placards at all?
What placards?
Isn't there a placard at the outside of that building?
The only thing that we have is that sign that was
Yeah.
made right above the entrance. I mean, this picture's from today, there, as you can see.
At the entry
I
right
thought there was
there,
like
too.
board members represented years ago or something.
We'll check.
Yeah.
We'll make sure we check. I don't remember seeing that. It might have been removed before.
They came out when I walked, the ones with the little placards with all the board members.
Yes, something, yeah.
Yeah, they all came.
That's probably why, because I don't remember.
Yeah, yeah, when we moved
Oh,
out.
but that was inside the boardroom,
Yeah,
right?
it was all-
And were you referring to a
It's
plaque in
it's
the
fine.
exterior?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay.
And M&O did go in through the building in advance, actually last week, and removed anything that was to be salvaged, just so you guys know.
Thank you. Your name's probably on, it was on that placard.
1890.
Roger looks fantastic. Let me tell you.
Take it, I'll take it.
Okay, moving on to the next project that,
Before we go there.
Yes,
sorry,
no problem.
back up just
Absolutely.
Since this we're focusing for Western Sport Complex, one of my, relative to the work that Bridget's doing and King Consulting and trying to find extra resources and funds, the screen on aviation is an opportunity for additional funds. I think we're talking to Clear Channel, I may be ahead of ourselves there about appropriate advertising. So I just want to make sure, because I'm confused here. I think we're having 3 screens or need 3 screens, one north facing, one south facing, and one east facing. The east facing being the scoreboard, the north and south facing being marketing.
we have 3 scoreboards and we have 2 digital displays, but one of those digital displays is dual-sided.
But that's my question, is the dual-sided north-south facing so that aviation?
It's the one that's on 135th, basically right next to the middle school parking lot. That's facing 135th and obviously the field. And then there's another one on 88. Oh, no, I'm sorry. There's another one on on the side of the concessions building. We tried to install it off of aviation, but because we have a lot of electric SCE poles with the Musco lights, with the netting, we were not able to add any more high displays.
With the putting there does not exist?
Yes, the ones that I've shared with you are, that's exactly where they're going.
But that, if I'm remembering it right, is that not a potentially north-south facing aviation?
Is that north-south? I don't know the directions of
Would
it.
it be helpful if we had another overview map?
West to aviation, east.
So my pushback is we're throwing away an opportunity for potentially $100,000 or more a year in revenue by not having a north-south facing aviation facing.
We can certainly explore another option again, but when we were trying to do one on 135th and one on aviation, but like I said, we were extremely limited because as it is, it's already a very tight space. And with between the Musco lights, the SCE posts, we have to maintain a 15-foot separation between the SCE power poles, our Musco lights, and all of our fencing. So there's not a whole lot of place where we can do lower, but it wouldn't really display out to the community. It has to be a much higher, like the one we're doing on 135th, it's 30-foot pole, basically, if I recall correctly.
Power of a 135th message board versus an aviation message board is night and day. 135th is just our people who are coming to school.
We're happy to revisit that,
Aviation is a major thoroughfare.
but just know that it's not something that I could just add to the project because it would have to.
Remarkable, Noemi, come on.
No. Thank you, but no. It will require DSA review and approval.
I'm confused because that's what the picture we have been seeing was showing that.
So I think what Neil saw you at is that we had talked about moving the electronic sign towards where the new parking is gonna go by where the current SLC building is, like
Mhm.
basically there. And that, at that corner behind what is the Little League baseball. field,
Right, the small parking lot, the
Right.
visitor, right.
Putting it there.
Right.
You're saying
Don't
that
recall
when
that.
you, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't recall that
Do you
conversation.
have the
Your
render?
site plan or?
I do, but just not with me right now. I mean, not here. I can bring it up and show
I mean,
you.
if it's hundreds of thousands of dollars to get TSA approval and this is not possible and it's delayed, of course, but to me, this seems like we're throwing away an opportunity.
No, but it could be added as a CCD is what I'm getting at. It's not just something that I can just
Not to
say,
mention
change
your
order,
$100,000.
it would have to go through.
What a great
Right.
communication tool for the schools.
Okay. We can revisit that.
We had just, I think.
But I'll make sure I'll get a site plan and we mark it. Absolutely. Moving on to the next project, the Del Air Baseball Field Improvements Project. This project, as you know, started on May 1st, and we're also making quite a bit of progress. It was split into 2 phases as well. The first phase was that brown area, which was the DG. The rest of it was the baseball field project. So I showed that for reference. So here, phase 1, as you can see, it was actually completed 1 week after we originally anticipated. We kept Da Vinci Connect site and preschool informed throughout the process, and it turned out very nice. I mean, this picture doesn't really do it justice. It's a large space. No, and it's a very large space. So I had to cut the picture in 2 just to show. And then can you imagine how it's going to look once that green temp bends? Because all you'll see is beautiful green grass. So right now you see the trees, the DG, it's very organic. It just looks very nice in my opinion. And the kids seem to love it. It's now all leveled, whereas before they were playing on asphalt, but it was different elevations. So it wasn't conducive for little ones. Right, Ms. Sensei? And this is the phase 2 project. And again, the picture doesn't do it justice. That field looks massive.
Oh, it's huge.
Massive. Once you're out there, we're like, wow, it's so big. As you can see, they're working on the irrigation laterals. All of that is done. They'll be ready to pressure test the laterals tomorrow. We invited the grounds crew today. They came out to take a look at it. They'll be there to test once we actually are testing irrigation. Marina Landscape, the sub for this project we'll start delivering the grass on Tuesday, and we'll probably start installing shortly after that.
Sod or seed?
Sod. Again, just irrigation work right now.
Big site.
It's not big, 135.
Yeah.
Moving on to the district-wide signage project. This project is a 2-part project as well. The first part was changing out all of the ID panels and all of the marquees. We have completed that. You can see in the picture to the left as they're installing it. We are scheduled to do a punch walk next week. They're going to also come out. Actually, we'll punch it after Kaya's going to come out and paint the frame. So you can see that the color has faded. We're going back with a black gloss, basically to match the black that it's already in the marquees. That way it looks like it's a continuous piece, and otherwise the colors start to fade and they'll look like that.
I drove by it the other day and I was like, oh wait, that thing changed.
It's no longer a banner.
Del Air too.
And a Del Air too, yeah.
Right. You can see Del Air, they changed
It's no longer.
it's coming.
Lit up, yeah.
Wiseburn, Holly Glen, as you can see, they're done. Wiseburn paint is actually in really good shape, so we're not going to touch it. Yeah, we're gonna leave it, especially because the frame, as you can see, is blue. So, and it already looks really good. Leave it alone. We are gonna punch it just to make sure that there's no issues. Holly Glen, even though the picture looks like it's in really good shape, it has faded. There are quite a few imperfections on the frame already, so we are going to paint it black. But the marquee itself, the digital display, you can't really tell here, but it's also black, so it'll look continuous. It'll make sense.
Relative to signage on that, there were 2 things. One,
Yes.
Del Air's has that engraved.
Yes. And that's what I was just going to mention. So the second part of the project is to replace, for example, the district office sign, the district office along the concrete monument and Del Air, remove all of the letters from, right now they're covered by banners. So that's the next part. We're waiting for the actual letters to be ready. And then we're going to remove them and install them. And I said, no. Why don't we go in first? Remove the banners, remove the letters. Let's check the condition of the wall. If we have to do any patch before we just start installing, and then you can see the shadow of the name in the background. So we might have some letters that are off, so there'll be no name other than the marquees to the site, just because we're in the process of inspection and making repairs and getting it right.
Yeah.
The first time, not after. and then we'll do the installation of the letter. So that's coming, and it'll be in the month of July.
And the last signage thing that I don't think we're addressing is the middle school numbers on the buildings.
No,
I know we're not discussing.
not at this time.
Maybe that'll be.
Just the
Maybe
names.
next summer, yeah. Okay, thank you.
I thought about that today too, is what. There's a lot more.
Yeah. Can't do it.
And the other two projects that we're still tracking for some reason, we still have not received DSA approval. And I put pressure again on our design team just to keep pressuring DSA, is the Da Vinci Cafe and the Da Vinci Kitchen modernization. The cafe should have been approved a long time ago. We've already addressed all comments. It's been sitting with DSA since March. They have checked basically every 3 weeks and nothing. We have not received approval. So now that our focus is no longer on getting SLC approval, we're ready to escalate it, especially for the cafe, because we should have been taking advantage of the summer to do that work, or for Da Vinci to do that work. Now, the kitchen modernization, I'm not sure what's going to happen, but we still want to see that project through and obtain DSA approval for them. And last but not least, we're planning to do a Citizens Bond Oversight Committee construction tour. As you know, we take them out. They love wearing their vests, their hard hats, their PPE basically, and get out there. You're all welcome to join us. Absolutely. It's just a great opportunity for them to physically see progress and to share that progress with the community, since they're our conduit to our community. And it's just a perfect photo op.
Will that be the same date as their next meeting of the CBOC?
I'm gonna work with Wendy to schedule that. We were supposed to meet in June, but we had to postpone that just because we had a lot happening with graduations and all the kicking off a lot of these projects. So we're gonna try to do either. I'm actually gonna push to try to see if we can do it in July. I know we told them August, just because I want them to see progress versus completion. Exactly. Right.
I agree.
Yeah. Any other questions? That concludes my presentation.
Super exciting.
Thank you very much, Noemi. Yeah. As everyone can see, we have a few items going on in the district in terms of construction. Thank you to Noemi and to the entire team. Really appreciate it. And also thank you to our Weisman community for the passage and support of Measure EE. Without their support, obviously, we would not be able to do all these wonderful projects. I think all of my colleagues here on the board are of the same opinion in terms of gratitude, but also when we do projects like this and our students come back to school and their teachers come back to their classrooms and they see the new spaces, there's just a rich energy that develops. And it shows everyone that comes to our schools that not only the board, but our community cares about the spaces for our students. So thank you again to our community for such wonderful support. It's really a privilege and an honor to live in the Weisman community for many reasons, and that's just one of them. So thank you. Thank you again for that. Okay, we're going to continue on. With our agenda, we're in section 7.1. We're going to start with board member reports, and I'm going to start with Rebecca on my left.
Thanks so much, Roger. It's so amazing to hear about all of the wonderful things that are happening to improve our schools and our communities, even when we're not in session. And I really want to be able to embrace the summer season. But I also think it's important for us to continue to recognize the unique challenges that our students face during these months. With school out, many of our young people have fewer opportunities to be in safe spaces where they feel supported and secure. And summertime should be a time of joy and exploration and carefree moments. And yet many of our families, especially this summer, are in a climate that makes it difficult to enjoy those simple things. So while our school district is working diligently to provide a safe environment for our students during the school year, the summer can leave some of us feeling vulnerable without the protective walls of the schools. So I just want to continue to remind us that our schools are and should be those safe spaces, and that we should be looking out for our students and our communities even when we're not in session.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Neil.
Well, it's fun to hear all this change and all this exciting stuff. And I came across a quote earlier today that made me think of something I may have shared a few minutes ago, but it's the idea of creative destruction. Maybe back to your war zone. But creative destruction is an interesting idea. It was created by an economist we've never heard of called Joseph Schumpeter. And Joseph Schumpeter argued back in the 19th century that there were waves of change. And we've continued to have change, not just for change's sake, but for improvement's sake. And the point he made was we're now in the sixth wave of change, the first, the Industrial Revolution. And the creative destruction idea is that when something is introduced, it destroys that was before it. So, for example, when the Model T Ford was introduced, it destroyed the horse and buggy as a popular means of transportation, et cetera. When the iPhone was introduced, that was the first wave, or the second wave. The fifth wave was the iPhone and the internet. And how many things were, quote unquote, destroyed by the iPhone, like the radio and the camera and you name innumerable things. Now, the destruction part is not what I want to emphasize, but I'm proud of us. And I want to recognize the cultural shift that's happening in our district towards the use of data. And, it's just suddenly made it into our conversations, but this use of data is giving us more insight, more knowledge, the ability to use it for grant writing and grant attainment, and in giving us the sense of moving forward and momentum. So I'm proud of this process and I want to take a moment to recognize that and say, hey, we are making a cultural shift. Professional learning communities moving in this direction, this great positive change. And the quote I referenced today that made me think of all this came from George Shinseki, the general who was the chief commander of the Army about a decade ago. And he said this, he said, if you don't like change, you're going to like irrelevance less. And I thought that was a very powerful idea, that we are continuing to change, not for change's sake, but to improve, to get better, to ride these continually accelerating waves of change for the benefit of our community, our students, and our team. So kudos to you, Blake, and the team for riding and leading us on this wave. And I just want to recognize everybody and say thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Next, we'll go to Michelle.
Thank you. I love the special presentation so much because it does highlight all the things that we can see and cannot see. So thank you for all of those. And it's just inspiring. And again, it just gives us a sense of gratefulness to be able to be here and be able to be at the forefront of being able to watch this. And thank you, Rebecca, for always planting us firmly into the context of the world, because I think that that's so important. There's so many great things happening right in our little bubble, which we should definitely be grateful for, but we should never forget exactly the context in the world that we belong in and function in. And I didn't realize how sentimental my colleagues were until they started talking about the demolition of this building. And you saw them like, no. And you're going to see them chained to the building. Although no, and again, I'm, have the pleasure of getting to know this board in the last year, but it is so wonderful to see that honor, that gratitude, that constant reminder of the past, because that's what you are, standing on the shoulders of, right? And so my own anecdote about that building is that is the building that I walked into like 25 years ago looking for a job. And so I have my own sentimentality. They said, no, no, we have no openings for you. And rightly so, I'm glad it happened that way because I get to be here today. But I do think that I will miss driving past and seeing it. So I might be there tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. just to witness that, because it has always been kind of an anchor in our community. So. But again, it's really just wonderful seeing all of you and that sentimentality. And so it just makes me more proud to be a part of this. So thank you. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. I just have a couple of quick comments in terms of closing out last year, our 24-25 school year. I wanted to say thank you to all of our staff and our administration and our teachers. Wow, what a year, right? Thank you for all your energy and enthusiasm in teaching our students and the care that you've given to really our family and the Weisbrand community. Incredibly grateful for that. I did have an opportunity, as well as a lot of my colleagues here, to attend our middle school promotion, also the Del Air Aviation and SLC. what a gift. I tell you, oftentimes we're here at the dais and running our board meetings, but we can't remember why we're here and why we're all participating in the activities. It really is for all of our students. And by attending not just those promotions, but activities during the year, it's just a constant reminder of what our mission is, really to help our community and educate our students and grow together as really a large extended family. So thank you for a wonderful 24-25 school year in appreciation. Thank you again. So that's all I have. And I'm going to turn it over next to Blake, and he can guide us with leadership reports, district leadership reports. Okay.
Sean, I don't know if you want to start?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Hot off the press, fiscal report from school services. Governor Newsom and the legislative leadership have come to an agreement on the 25-26 state budget package.
Wow.
They're anticipating the Assembly and Senate to act on the numerous bills needed to enact the actual state budget on tomorrow. So just a couple highlights from that. The first one is in regards to the COLA. They're fully funding the 2.3% COLA. That's the final agreement. The universal transitional kindergarten, that TK add-on that we had presented at our last board meeting. The state is finalizing that, so that will provide an additional about $2.1 billion for the implementation of that piece. It includes, or excuse me, not 2.1, 1.2 billion for that. Sorry about that.
I like
Other number better. Back to the other.
The other number is actually just the continuing of the funding of TK implementation. The 1.2 is for the additional add-on, and that's to meet the 10-to-1 adult to student ratio. And then the student support and discretionary block grant. The final agreement was to allocate $1.7 billion towards that one-time allocation, and it will be distributed based on ADA. So that will be a pretty significant windfall for the district as well. And then finally, the partial restoration of the Learning and Recovery Emergency Block Grant. The initial proposal was $378.6 million, and they are fully funding that amount as well. So per the 45-day budget revision window over the summer, we will be incorporating all this information into our budget revision that we'll take to the board in August. So we'll be incorporating the revenues and any of the expenditure plans that we've already kind of been discussing that will be associated with those funds as well.
You had earlier made an estimate of what all that meant for us. Do you have any memory of that?
Yes, for the student support and discretionary block grant, that was roughly about $730,000 for the district. The TK ratio, that additional add-on, equated to about $400,000. And then for the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant, that was roughly about $162,000 for the district.
Can you bring news like that to every board meeting?
12-9.
There is some other positive news. I don't have perfect allocations for this because they haven't kind of disclosed how they were going to disseminate the funding for this. But the literary instruction, the professional development, they have allocated about $200 million in one-time funds for that piece. And then the literacy and math coaches, they had originally estimated an amount of $455 million. That amount was actually reduced to about $215 million in one-time funds. So those grants are not coming out on a per ADA basis. So we don't have kind of an allocation amount dedicated to that, but that will be additional funds that will help support the district in our literacy measures
Something
as well.
like 1.3 or 4 million. That's
Yeah.
pretty remarkable and needed and appreciated. That's fantastic.
And that's all I have for my.
Oh, keep going.
I know.
Bring it on, baby.
I had to bring some positive news.
Thank you, Sean. Much appreciated.
Oh, I was just gonna ask, does that impact I know we have to, there's some things that we're supposed to be approving in terms of like spending contingencies, planning. Does these monies that are coming in affect what we need to do in terms of what we're submitting to like LACO and others around
So
The
we
deficit,
will meet the standard 45-day budget revision per LACO's guidelines, per the state guidelines. So we have from July 1st, that's when the 45-day window opens. So we just have to take a revised budget to the board within that time period, and they just have to approve it. There's not a specified format. It doesn't have to be in a similar format that you see for the adopted budget that will be that you see as an action item tonight. So it'll be a little bit, hopefully a little more straightforward, easier to read document, kind of highlighting the updates to our revenue and the associated expenditures. So it should make a lot more sense to be a lot.
And this may
a lot
not be
clearer.
one to one. I'm sure there's some unrestricted and unrestricted in this equation.
These are probably restricted dollars. Most are
Yeah,
restricted
all of them
dollars,
are
yeah.
restricted, with the exception of the TK add-on. That's part of our LCFF funding formula.
Still makes it
So that-
tricky. Yeah.
So that amount will come in unrestricted, but I mean, it's to be utilized for those TK purposes, which is what we'll be using it for. But that one is coming as an unrestricted funding source under just the general umbrella of LCFF. But all the other ones are on the restricted side.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Any other district leadership reports today, Blake?
Just me. This is the next,
You're under superintendent.
I am.
Yes.
Can I take it away? Okay,
Absolutely.
yeah, just a few comments. Want to say, really appreciated and enjoyed the graduations and promotions. I guess it was 2 weeks ago. I think I did about 7 or 8 of them. Most of us did over the course of a few days. You know, what stood out is, to me, is, in these uncertain times, is just seeing the power of the kids that were there, and the fact that I feel pretty comfortable and confident that those kids are going to make a difference, for us in the future. And, hearing the speeches that happened at the graduations here at Da Vinci, hearing the kids speak at the aviation graduation, just seeing Alden, Mikey, and Lizette at SLC. I remember when they were just babies, and them graduating from the Futures program was really, really rewarding and special. So it just does give, despite the uncertainty and all of that, it just does give a ray of sunshine and hope for for the future when you see things like that. So I just wanted to comment on that, and then just share that I just wanted to thank folks. I know we're here. Jim is here. He's starting jumping in full steam. Appreciate the support. Obviously, you saw a tremendously comprehensive presentation from Noemi today. I always say I tease her about the 2-hour presentations, but really, I mean, it's a lot going on, a lot of projects going on. Greg and Cherie and Miguel obviously running around, Celeste, I won't forget Celeste, running around and trying to make sure that all of these things are being managed. And that and I honestly saw when a little piece of, of these, what do you call this? The border, when the rubber border is off just a little bit. Yeah. They're pointing it out and making sure that we get it right. I mean, there's just a lot of detail that goes into a project where maybe detail isn't always followed by contractors, and you have to be observant, and just seeing that process has been really, really, really remarkable. And I agree, Roger shared that we're seeing sort of a changing of the way the district's going to look. I mean, when you see the field that's going to be built and the baseball field, that baseball field is going to be amazing. Just really, really, really positive things. As we close out this year and start next year, look forward to the strategic planning that we have ahead. That's going to be coupled with grant writing and other things. It's just a lot of positive as we close this year out. And so, just thank you to everybody, our teacher leaders, that are here. I really, really appreciate the support and the time and the effort and the collaboration. It's just been a wonderful, wonderful year. So, thank you. That's all I have today.
Thank you, Blake. Moving on in our agenda, we are in section 8, which are comments from the public. Wendy, do we have any comments on agendized items?
I do not have any comments.
Okay, thank you very much. Section 9 is under consent items. Is there a motion to approve item 9.1, which would approve items 9.2 through 9.14? And if anyone would like to pull any, otherwise I'll take a motion.
You have a motion over the comment.
Motion for Neil, is there a second?
Second?
Neil?
Just in light of our continuing to move forward and use technology where it's can, I just want to point out 9.9 with the agreement with Clear and creating technology for residency verification. It's a far cry from what we've been doing in the past, and excited to see that in place. Thank you.
I have one comment on item 9.10, not to make Bridget nervous or anything. But,
You on the spot.
Yeah.
I did also want to say thank you for all your service and your time here with the district and for everything you're doing, as well as a shout out to WEF, who's also co-funding this item for us. A tremendous appreciation to our partnership with the Wise Burnett Foundation as well. So, okay, so I have a motion from Neil and a second from Michelle. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion
Continue.
carries
Thank you.
4-0.
Thank you.
On to section 10. These are our action items. Is there a motion to approve item 10.1 to receive WFA initial proposal for the 2025-26 negotiations?
Roger, just a point, if you wish, we could probably take 10.1 and 10.2 together and then 10.3 and 10.4 together. If you so choose, obviously, however you want, but those two, they sort of partner each other. So in the event that you all want to do that, it's fine.
Roger, I'll move 10.1 and 10.2.
Yes, second.
Neil, absolutely. Okay, so I have a motion from Rebecca and a second from Neil. Any comments? Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 4-0. And Blake, you recommended 10.3 and 10.4?
Yes.
Okay, is there a motion to approve items 10.3 and 10.4?
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Michelle, second from Rebecca. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Item 10.5 is to approve compromise and release agreement. Is there a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Michelle, any comments or questions on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
You have an abstention.
Motion carries 3-0-1.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 10.6 is approve legal services with Frantz Law Group. Is there a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any comments or questions?
Actually, I got my numbers wrong. This is the one I'm abstaining on. I would have approved the prior. We can note that for the record.
Okay.
Thank you. I can't read.
So on that note, the motion by Rebecca and a second by Michelle, all those in favor of 10.6?
Aye.
Aye. So this one does carry 4-0, Neil, correct?
No, this one carries
This is the one
3-0-1.
that's
This is
3-0-1.
3-0-1.
Sorry.
This is the abstention.
3-0-1.
I don't have
Understood.
that information. Sorry, Wendy.
Just to make it complicated for you. It's okay. Thank you, Neil. Item 10.7 is to approve the 2024-25 school year annual report and 2025-26 school year expenditure plan for Proposition 28, Arts and Music in Schools. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion from Rebecca, a second?
Give a second.
Any comments or questions, discussion?
Noted, we're using this primarily for staffing.
Yes. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0 as well. Thank you. On to section 11, which are action items for facilities. Item 11.1 is amendment number 5 agreement. Amendment number 5 to agreement for the 135th and Aviation Sports Complex for architectural design services with PBK Architects, paid for by Measure E Fund. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Motion from Michelle, second from Rebecca. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Section 12 is action items under fiscal. Item 12.1 is to adopt resolution number 24/25.45. I love it when they give me these really long numbers. You know? This is for education protection account. Is there a motion?
Yeah.
Motion from Neil. A second?
Second.
Michelle, any comments or questions on this item?
You're tracking it, Sean.
All right, with that update today, great. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Item 12.2 is to approve the 2024-2026 District Local Control and Accountability Plan, the LCAP. Is there a motion?
You have a motion and a comment.
And is there a second? Michelle, Neil, please go ahead.
Super excited to see this new format. Just really excited to see that we are setting goals. I think the goals are very ambitious. I applaud the district for having really ambitious goals, but we've put numbers to our future, the thresholds we're shooting for. It's a new way of doing it, and kudos to the team. Well done.
So thank you, Neil. Any other comments, questions? No. Thank you. On the motion by Neil and the second by Michelle. All those.
It was actually Rebecca.
Yeah, you wrote Michelle, but
Oh.
I said it. It's fine.
I was like, did I?
You threw your voice
I'm a
impressively well.
Ventriloquy.
On that note, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Item 12.3 is to adopt the 2025-26 district budget. Is there a motion?
So moved.
This was Rebecca, correct?
That one.
Is there a second?
You have a second and a comment.
Please go ahead.
And a question, actually. It's one item on here was, we did not meet ADA to enrollment, and I did not understand what that meant. I know it's a esoteric, you can't remember everything on here.
I'm assuming you're in the criteria and standards
One of the
section.
two, it's like page 1 or 2 of that first section.
Yeah, so that, the criteria and standards is, it's embedded in the state software, and so they look at ADA to enrollment percentages. And at the state level, I just don't think they've simply updated their criteria and standards to like account for the fact that districts statewide do have, you know, a much lower ADA percentage compared to enrollment as a result of the
So it's a
COVID
threshold
pandemic.
thing, like 95%.
It's a threshold. When
for
we
example.
enter all the parameters, it spits out if it's a met or not met requirement.
Okay.
So I just don't think they've simply like updated that portion of it to.
I mean, we were
to
met
account
almost
for-
everywhere. That was just caught my eye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that our percentage is pretty much in line with
Yeah.
state percentages.
And historically where we've been, and the recovery hopefully will bring us up a little bit. Thank you. That's sufficient. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. On a motion by Rebecca, second by Neil. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 4-0. Item 12.4 is to adopt resolution number 24/25.46, designating certain general funds as committed fund balance. Is there a motion?
Moved.
Second.
Michelle? Neil? Any comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 4-0. Item 12.5 is to approve TK iPad refresh for 25-26. Is there a motion?
Motion and a question.
A second?
Second.
Michelle? Neil, please go ahead.
Rebecca.
Did it again.
Did it again.
Rebecca.
Thank you.
All right. You want to call me Nelson the rest of the day? I'm totally good with
See,
that.
I caught it the first time when he had said Michelle. I was like, wait, what is
Something's
that?
off today, so I had to think about that.
We need to
Thanks,
sound
Mike.
different, Rebecca. We need to sound different. I'll be like,
Um,
second.
My question is, I don't know how many iPads this is. I'm assuming 20 students per classroom, 5 classrooms, 100? I don't, there's no way to know how many we're buying here on the document itself. If we're buying 100, this is a heck of a buy. Great job.
I'll have to double check on the actual amount. I can find it somewhere, but, I'm assuming that the price of the iPads, yeah, I think is around that dollar amount.
I think this was
Plus tax.
25,000, right? The item.
Yeah, if it's 100, it's
Yeah, let me see
250
if I can-
each, which is phenomenal.
Jim, do you have any idea? I apologize, I don't. What's the dollar amount?
25,000.
25K.
It sounds like it would.
That's like, I'm hard pressed to approve something. I don't know what we're buying.
Two really good ones.
Yeah, these are state of the art.
That's 3 classroom, 5
Five
classrooms.
classrooms. I'm assuming there's 20 per classroom with the
TK.
TK.
There's a hyperlink
It's
at the
more-
bottom.
I think there's like
of
around
the
20.
that outline that has the invoice.
Isn't it going to 20 to 1
200.
rather from 24?
There's a link to the invoice.
The one thing about Apple is there's no delineation in price. Like you walk into Best Buy, we have to buy it from Apple Direct. but
200
units.
There's no way it's $200.
Well,
Unless we're getting any.
No, there must be.
They're like $350, $400. Yeah.
So it's
The
the
iPads.
total of 50 iPads, it's the Apple Care,
Yeah.
it's, a subscription license.
My apologies, I did not see that.
You see it now, you see it.
I'm trusting.
But it's on the number, so it's confusing, it's like on the numbers.
Oh, gotcha.
Do we try and change things up a little?
Mix it up.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to-
It averages $500. It sounds like it averages $500 thereabouts per. I just did a little.
350 with Apple.
With Apple Care.
Like, yeah, including all the.
Licensing, that sounds about right.
Yeah, the iPad itself is $324.
Oh, wow.
It's the unit price.
Which is what they are. So you get-
Any other questions? No. Okay. All those in favor?
I.
Thank you. Motion carries 4-0. Item 12.6 is to approve purchase of Chromebook carts from BDJ Tech. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second, no question or comment.
Click on the link.
Good, this time they didn't confuse me.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm just kidding.
I got this one. I got this one.
Excellent. All those in favor?
Aye.
I read this stuff.
Excellent. Thank you. Motion carries 4-0. Item 12.7 is to approve additional funds to master service agreement with Autism Behavior Consultants. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Becca? A second?
Second.
Michelle? Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Motion also carries 4-0. All right. Blake, do you have any need for a second closed session?
We do not.
Excellent. Great, thank you very much. With that, I'm going to take a motion to adjourn our meeting at 7:58.
So moved.
Second by Neil, seconded by Rebecca. All those in favor?
I.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight for the Weisburg Unified School District Board meeting, and thank you for everything you do to help our students. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, everybody.